and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. It's a season of calm after the storm for many of the political parties coming off the primaries for the different offices available within the polity. For a number of the parties, this is the season to deal with the fallout and discontent that have arisen in the course of contention for political offices preparatory to the campaigns proper, which should kick off in September. But just on Monday this week, 22 aggrieved senators were led by the chief whip of the Senate, Senator Orji Uzor-Kalu, to meet with the president over their discontent with how the primaries in their party, the APC, had gone. The meeting seemed to have gone well, as some of them expressed hope that their grievances could be addressed. But if there's any class of people who haven't quite been as vocal as they were before the primaries, it's the women folk. Before the primaries, a lot had been said about how political parties need to be more inclusive in outlook. With the primaries done, looks like that was done more in the breach. Are the women content with their lot, or are there mechanisms that have been put in place by the political parties to address this? The woman leader of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. Betta Edu, is my guest tonight on Hard Copy. Dr. Betta Edu, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, quite a campaign you put up shortly before the primaries conducted in your party. You had encouraged a number of women to go out and pick up the forms. At least that was the first thing you said. And I think following suit, your party said, okay, we'll give you people nomination forms for free. I think they had to pay for some parts of the entire package.
Impress.
Yes, but the nomination forms were largely free. Were you impressed with the outcome of, one, the number of women who picked up forms, and eventually the number of them who emerged as candidates in the party?
So I would want to say there were lots of success stories. And at the same time, there are some stories that should not be told, but would be told, if we must be frank. First and foremost, we were really very grateful when the National Working Committee of the party approved that women can have their forms free of charge. This was happening for the very first time in the history of any political party, and indeed the APC in Nigeria. And it was a boost just to encourage women to get into the ring and participate in the process. Of course, a lot of women picked up their forms. For the very first time, we had over 700 women picking up a form and contesting in various states for different elective positions, from the governorship position all the way down to Senate, reps, and then the House of Assembly across the entire nation. It was a very wonderful experience. Lots of women came out, they got involved. We had several capacity building sessions for them. We even had that interaction with the wife of the president and the wife of the vice president, who came all out to encourage women to push, to move, to get involved, and to see how they can emerge as candidates in our party.
I saw the enthusiasm. Yes. I mean, it seems that there was some enthusiasm on the part of the women, and I also saw that visit by the wife of the president.
Exactly. Following that meeting, we had at the villa with the wife of the president, where all the aspirants were. She actually came in person, but then a lot of realities set in.
Tell us about the realities. Is that what we're interested in? What effect did it have?
So first and foremost, I think all of that advocacy, all of that engagement made the male folks more alert to the fact that women are coming. And so we need to get ready to push back some bit. And so you could see some form of resistance in several states across the nation. And you could see that some states, they were capitalizing on the fact that probably the women didn't really understand the electoral process thoroughly, or even if they understood it, they didn't have the experience, so they could bring up some technicalities to actually put them aside and take over their seats. But there are a few examples that were very, very phenomenal, and we must thank persons who have been involved, and indeed the women who pulled through. But then we were able to get a female governorship candidates.
At the minimum.
At the minimum,
Yeah.
were able to get that in the party. And that's in Adamawa. She did a great job. And of course, she didn't just win by a few numbers. She won by almost 100 votes, which was very, very phenomenal for us. And it gave us lots of hope. Beyond the governorship candidates, we had several women emerge in the senatorial seat. We had several women emerge in the House of Reps seat as candidates. And then, of course, House of Assembly, lots more. In total, so far, we've been able to count down at least 68. However, it's not over yet.
68 women emerged as candidates.
As candidates
for
across
the different
board.
seats, yeah.
Yes, across board. But it's not over yet because there are some places where we're still trying to put in a last finishing touch, and we are hopeful that women will still emerge. Another very strong example.
You think that the numbers could still go up?
Yes,
there
I'm
are
optimistic.
women aspirants who are currently aggrieved, as the case might be.
So here's the point, not about them being aggrieved. There are some states which we had some persons who want to withdraw from the race and give their seat to females to emerge as candidates for several reasons, which is allowed under the Electoral Act. So we are hopeful that that happens soon, and we can top the number up to even 70. That would be nice.
That is interesting. Why would they want to withdraw?
The elections, for different reasons. Of course, there are persons who, for financial reasons, or they're no longer interested. If you've been following the news and you've been listening to it, you would have heard a lot of seats that are being replaced. The persons there are stepping down and saying, no, this person stands a better chance to win, and so we'll withdraw, and we'll all sign on to the withdrawal form to come up with another person as their candidate. One of the very beautiful stories, too, which we had was a case where we actually went intervening and discussing and engaging our stakeholders. Our present candidate, the presidential candidate, we actually engaged with him and the governor of Lagos State as key stakeholders in Lagos State to determine the fate of women in Lagos State. And they were very, very wonderful. In fact, at that meeting, they agreed that the largest senatorial district in Lagos would be given to a woman. That's the former deputy governor of Lagos State, and we're happy that that actually happened, and by God's special grace, she would emerge as a senator representing basically half of Lagos State. And then, of course, we had Anambra State that has over 12 women on the ballot box. We have Ekiti State.
Well, some people will say that maybe when women have been on the ballot from the opposition party, it's only natural that maybe the APC will try something different in Anambra State. For how many electoral cycles now, it would seem that Anambra has been consistent in making sure that women make it to the Senate. I mean,
yes,
two very strong women, politically speaking, have been emerging consistently in Anambra State. So it will be interesting to see what happens when women contend against themselves in the primaries in Anambra. But can you tell us which states you're expecting that will see this this withdrawal taking place? I haven't heard it.
Well, I don't want to let that one out of the bag now. Maybe
not the people,
because
but
it's still a negotiation process. One of those states are in the east, and then we have another one in the south. So from those two states, we're highly expectant that we'll have 2 women emerge, and we can top our numbers up to 70.
South or south?
South and southeast.
Okay, yes. Interesting. You talked about stories that were not very pretty but need to be told. What were some of them which you saw or which you have heard?
So we had instances where women were asked to step down. In some states, women were asked to step down for their male counterparts by key stakeholders who actually probably give them maybe some promissory notes, or altogether just said, step down, this person will be able to win the elections more than you, just probably he has more financial capacity to deliver on the elections than you do, or he might be a bit more popular, or there was an agreement on zoning, or there was an agreement that those who were in the house will be going back because of one thing or the other. So we saw instances like that that affected some of our female aspirants, and it actually didn't go down so well with us. In many instances, we tried to call the key stakeholders in those states to intervene, but some was corrected, others were not. I remember a case in Akwa Ibom where we basically had to call some key stakeholders, and it helped us to get two of the seats that were initially supposed to be for the females. And you can find cases like that. And there's some other states where you call and they just tell you outrightly, look, this is core north, we're highly conservative, they're not going to vote for the women, and they're not going to be able to make it through. So we don't just want to put them on the box. That going to the primaries right now, you're going to see that nobody's going to vote for a woman. They would mostly vote for the male because we're highly conservative around here.
Yeah, but I mean, that shouldn't stop people from at least trying their luck, so to speak, to see
exactly,
how
and that's the point I tried to put forward.
Mm-hmm.
I had met some key stakeholders to tell them that sometimes the woman might not be running only on her merit. Yes, she might have that merit, but it's also an endorsement on you, a referendum on you to say, have you done well? If you've done well, you should be able to look at your stakeholders and tell them, say, look, I need you to support this person because I believe she would continue with the good work I've done and even do better, right? But you could see that restraint, especially in the northern states. We didn't really get as many candidates as we expected to. Somehow, with fate of luck, the governorship candidate still comes from the north. Yes,
somehow. I mean, that's just how it works sometimes. So from what you said earlier, it would seem that there wasn't exactly thorough satisfaction on the part of women and how a lot of the aspirants fared. But it would seem that there's not been a lot of noise, I mean, about complaints, so to speak, more clearly about how certain things went down. I mean, I haven't seen you, for instance, lead a protest to the president, for instance, or, you know, maybe hold a consultation with the party chairman, something of the sort. Is it that women are adopting a different strategy to lay their complaints, or they're just licking their wounds privately?
No, we're not licking our wounds privately. We have been speaking and will continue to consult. So first we had met with, in fact, we had a meeting in my office with all the aspirants that were aggrieved, or most of the aspirants that were aggrieved. And then we also moved with that delegation to see the party chairman. And for some cases that could be redone, because we had to do a rerun in some places where the women felt that they were played out. So we influenced that to happen. So for us, it's more of the strategy on the ground rather than just the noise and the periphery of it, right? We want to be able to get the result. Who are those key stakeholders looking at the power wheel? How can we get this result? So we identify them and we engage with them in the most respectful manner to see how we can get more women across the line. Initially, we had about 50-something. We're about 56. And we were able to, by that strategy, quietly engaging and working, we're able to move things in our favor, and we're up now at 68. And we're still pushing forward to see how we can increase these numbers before the INEC window shuts down. The basic thing is I have come to understand that you need to be able to manage people. You need to manage their egos. Even the male counterpart, you need to be able to manage them and manage their ego. When you go attacking, when you go on the attack all the time, right, they begin to feel like it's a war between them and the women. No, it's not. They're supposed to complement us. They're supposed to support us. They're supposed to project us. That's their duty. And really, that's what we have been doing. And we're getting some good results, even though there's still women who are not able to cross the line.
Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Dr. Betta Edu, who is a national woman leader of the All Progressives Congress, is our guest tonight, and we're taking a look at how the primaries have gone from the perspective of the woman leader. For those who have emerged now, there are talks that you're thinking of getting a pool of funds.
Yes.
To see how you can support the women.
Yes.
How is that coming?
So we're going to launch that support. It's going to be everywhere, and then we're expecting that party would support them, kind-spirited individuals would support them, and then of course some key stakeholders that are interested in the female political gender and of course their movement forward would come all out to support. Beyond this, we have also been speaking with organizations. There are several organizations that are interested in females doing better in the political space. Some persons who are in several positions as women, we're able to interact with them. And so we decided that we can share experience. How did you get across the line? What did you do specially? We can learn from it. We can also tell them our experience here and really look at things critically and then gain more knowledge that would give you that leverage as you go into the election.
Have you thought about the modality for disbursing the funds when you eventually are able to raise it? How, for instance, do you have an amount in mind you want to give female senatorial candidates as opposed to, say, female House of Assembly members, for instance? Just wondering. So
definitely those who are going for the senatorial seats will receive higher than those who are going for the House of Assembly because their constituency is bigger and the number of people who they need to reach out to, number of work which they need to do is quite large. So we are trying to work with the state structure will also work with the zonal structure to see that the fundings get to them. But the important thing is that the money will be shared according to how much we're able to raise, both as a party and from individuals to support these women.
Have you been able to raise any money so far?
Oh, sure, we've been able to raise some. We've been able to raise some. In fact, under the Young Progressive Women's Forum, we have already a seed fund of close to 10 million that has been there for a couple of months now. Right, and then of course generally under the women's wing we're seeing how we can raise funds to support all of this. So these are funds that we want to pool together in a central pool and then support our female candidates across board to be able to emerge.
Quite a very ambitious project you have lined up, and this is, you know, all very surprising considering the fact that you just got into the APC not too long ago. You're already in the leadership. How have you been embraced, considering the fact that just last year, sometime last year, you were still in the opposition PDP? Are there those who still look at you with some suspicion, or would you say that you've been thoroughly embraced into the APC?
It's been a wide embrace. I was in Zamfara over the weekend, and we had thousands of women come out in their numbers to receive us. In fact, I got to the gate of the government house believing that I was just going to check in and have a rest. And then, of course, the next day, we'll start our empowerment program. On arrival, we met over 500 women at the gate waiting to receive me. And then, of course, the next day, we had over 1,000 women, even women from other parties who decamped. Kokosia Women Movement in Zamfara State, over 1,000 decamped into APC to join our women there. A wonderful work with the governor of Zamfara and the wife they're doing. And then in other states across the country, we have gone there. In Cross River, we're there. The reception was excellent. Ebonyi State, several other states where we have visited. Ekiti State during the elections. It was massive, working with the wife of the governor of Ekiti State, and you saw the results which we had on ground. And the same thing is about to happen in Osun State. So you can see that the women generally have embraced me. I think it's about bringing value to the table. When you bring value to the table, when you bring solutions, innovations that appeal to people, when you are open, when you have people-centered. It's easy for them to relate. It's easy for them to embrace you. And I think, indeed, the party APC is really very pleased with the work that we're doing in the women's wing. And we want to promise that we'll do lots more to ensure we emerge across board.
This is despite the fact that your principal, whom you came with, who tried to run for president, didn't quite make it through. I don't know how he's handling that or how that's going to affect your own future within the party moving forward. Does it have implications for you?
So my principal has no issues whatsoever. He is fully in support of Asiwaju, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he has promised that Asiwaju would have 100% of the votes in Cross River State. APC will go all out and will work for him. They're already working for our presidential candidate in our state. I was in a discussion with my principal on Monday this week, and he said that we have to plan for welfare packages across the state for women, health outreaches as much as possible, just to build up our voting strength.
There are those who said that's going to be a really tough one in your state, though, considering the fact that they argue that the structure of the PDP did not leave with him, that it was just him and a few other people who left with him to the APC.
That's absolutely false. If you have a governor leave, 18 members of the House of Assembly out of 25 leave, all the council chairmen in the 18 local governments leave, all the vice chairmen leave, all the councillors leave with him. Who else is the structure?
What about the senators? What about the members of the House of Reps?
The members of the House of Reps, they left with him. It was the senator in 2 senatorial districts, and then one was with him until they had the court case where another senator took over, and then he was a member of the PDP. Every other person left with the governor.
Yeah.
These are all grassroots structures, all the way down to the councillors in the ward. What other structure is there to hold on to for PDP?
What about the influence of the past governors in the state? I mean, former Governor Donald Duke still commands a huge following in the state, some respect in the state. So does former Governor Lee Elimoke as well. So
for us, we respect our past leaders. That's a given. But the respect for them does not mean you vote for their party. Of course, the former Governor Donald Duke is highly respected because he played his part in our state development. However, you can remember he was in SDP and he ran for he ran the presidential race. You and I know what the result was and how many votes he could amass from it, right? The same thing with all the other past leaders. So it's not necessarily that we do not respect them. We respect them and we appreciate the work they did in our state at that time. However, it does not sway the vote on the ground.
You represent 2 constituencies, not just that of women, but you're also a pretty young woman, so to speak.
Thank you.
There are those who say that you will be appealing to 2 different constituencies, which is women and young people.
Yeah.
But in recent times, you're also seeing that young people seem disenchanted with the main political parties and they're seeking other options. Those who now refer to the candidate of the Labour Party as the party where a lot of young people are finding succor. They're called the Obedience. Do you find them as a threat to your party?
Not at all. Not at all. There's several things that are required to win an election. I'm sure it's basically like saying you have an independent candidate. Even in the United States, even in places where their democracy have grown, you really can't have independent candidates emerge, right? Do they have the structure on ground to deliver on a presidential candidate in Nigeria?
I'm sure you've heard them say they want to vote for the structureless one.
That's the big question. Now, we are working. So there are more strategies that we need to look into. And when you see that this is not available here, you should be able to follow someone who is interested in building young people. He's built a lot of young persons. You should be interested in someone who is there to mainstream women. He has done it before, and as a president of Nigeria, he will do lots more.
Well, Dr. Betta Edu, National Woman Leader of the All Progressives Congress, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
You're welcome. It's always nice having you.
Well, that's the program tonight. Do send your thoughts and opinion to us using the handles on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.